Sandwich, and yes to impromptu road trips to Sandwich, Illinois. Because that's living life to the flavor fullest. Get $1 delivery when you order on our app. Panera, live your yes. Pricing and product availability may vary. Visit PaneraBread.com.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important, a Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
It is a rainy Monday in Chicago. Always great listening to Joan Esposito when she has such great guests to talk on subjects. In particular today, listening to her talk about Native Nations and Indigenous Peoples Day. Really love that conversation. And I don't get to talk to Joan as much directly as I used to, I feel like. But 773-763-WCPT is the number if you want to continue the conversation that Joan was having. If there's something on your mind that you've been waiting all weekend, you're like, I can't wait to talk to Patti. I've got to air something out on the radio. So give us a call or text us to 773-763-9278. And of course you can text. We'd rather hear your voice, but I understand if you need to type it instead. So, but you know, Santita says every single morning, let's hear your lovely voices. In studio with me, I have Thom Karmik, political strategist, who was actually, it's so funny, the callers have like this entire relationship with me, with the guests, with each other. And you know what, for folks who are wondering, because someone said allegedly, or he seems to be, or states that he is.
And was talking about something I didn't even say.
It wasn't even you.
It was something a caller said. So I enjoyed that. That is actually, I think I told you, that is the closest I will ever come to being a ghost, is having somebody talk about you when you're in the car about something you didn't say and not being able to respond to
that
it.
That is really weird. So Thom Karmik, what is a political strategist, would you say?
Oh, well, it's a lot of things. I've, over the better part of the last 20 years after working in television and then moving into politics, just worked on campaigns at the state, local, federal level for a variety of elected officials. And as far as I'm concerned, the most important part of the job is saying no to people once in a while.
Right.
I think we've talked about it before. Too many people, too many elected officials and too many people who work for elected officials think the relationship is, I'm going to tell my boss what they want to hear and keep my job. And as you know, I have been more than happy to say no and find new jobs over the years. So to me, that's the biggest part of it is to let the emperor once in a while know that they might not be wearing anything.
Well, we have come across, you more than me, we have come across people who just are surrounded by yes people because they're getting paid and they keep wanting to, suck up and be the favorite child, actually. So there are people who aren't used to that. Some politicians like having someone like you around, and some of them don't. I would say is very accurate too.
That's true. And it's interesting having done a lot of campaigns in other states as well, especially when you fly in somewhere and are going to leave after and don't want a job. And you see in the waning days of a campaign, especially when you know you're going to win, people get completely out of campaign mode and get into the mode of the job they want in the administration. And that's where you really see that. So the starkest memory was in Kentucky in 2007 when I worked on the gubernatorial race down there. And my plan was day after Election Day, come back to Chicago. But 90% of the people on the campaign were from there. And to watch people, it became Lord of the Flies. They didn't care about the campaign anymore. We were up, 15 points in every poll. So then it was just about how they could suck up to the soon-to-be governor and lieutenant governor and get a spot in the administration. And I think I learned more in that couple of months about how not to do this job than in anything I've ever done.
It's incredible what you see in the last days of my campaign were not like that because we were all polling very close.
We were polling very close, and we didn't know that there was $150,000 coming from DPI that was going to put 2 pieces of mail in everybody's mailbox for the last 14 days of the campaign.
Well, and the digital and the robocalling too was what Lindsay LaPointe's campaign came in heavy, and they were also able to pay people at the polling places. We were running entirely on volunteers. We had gone, and it was the pandemic, and this is not, I'm proud of the race that we ran. I also know that we were outgunned, we were outmanned, we were outfinanced, and Joe Duplessis also came in with a lot of money, the third place candidate. But at least he and I both ran noble campaigns in the sense that we ran for the right reasons. We ran on our principles, on what we believed in, and we didn't go, well, I think Joe sent out a couple of negative mailers. I did not participate in any of that.
No, we did not a single negative piece.
And you know what? That's something that people always say. I wish people would run positive campaigns, and it can be done, just not necessarily in a victorious way. If you have a lot of money, maybe you can. If you have a lot of money, I'm guessing there are a lot of folks that run.
The reflex to go negative early is always something that I end up being the last person in the room fighting and saying, let's not do it. And I think I mentioned previously, my being upset lately is that it's trickled down to judicial races, which I do a lot of, a few of them became very negative in the last cycle, and was very disheartening for me, because the reason I started doing those in the first place was because there tends to not be that sort of negativity. But unfortunately, if people have money to spend and they can say a bad thing, they seem to be happy to do it.
Oh, no doubt about it. We were all floored. We were all floored by the inability of Lindsay LaPointe to refrain from being absolutely in the gutter. We have Roosevelt on the line who wanted to join our conversation. Hey, Roosevelt, how are you doing?
Hey, Patty, how you doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Well, you know what the hot subject is today. Columbus Day, supposedly.
Right.
Okay.
See, I haven't even said it. I don't even give it the status of being referred to that way, but good.
Well, here's the thing that's never mentioned, and maybe I could enlighten, or I'll even challenge whoever wants to call after me. You cannot mention Columbus without mentioning the people that came after him from that same country, which is Spain. Okay? So if Columbus discovered America, then Hernando Cortés, which conquered Mexico, didn't he discover Mexico? And Francisco Pizarro conquered Peru. Didn't he discover Peru? Because they landed from Spain. And if we're going to go by the fact that Columbus discovered, then those guys discovered Mexico and Peru. What am I getting at? What I'm getting at is this. When the Spanish came to the New World, which is the Americas, not the United States, the Americas, that means south of Mexico and South America, Peru to be specific, they mixed with the native Indians. They took back all the gold to Spain, and they mixed with the Indians. You are part of that product.
I am.
Mixing, because your mother is Mexican. I'm Mexican. So that means that you are a descendant from Spaniards, aren't you?
I am. I'm descendant from both indigenous...
Okay, so wait a minute.
Yes, go ahead.
Hold on. So I'm on a roll.
I'll turn my mic off. You continue. Continue, Roosevelt.
So aren't we, technically and rightfully, aren't we entitled to celebrate Spain? And we are descendants from Spain. It shouldn't be an Italian day. It should be a Spanish day, because they sailed from Spain. The people on those boats were Spaniards. And the people that followed, the so-called conquerors, they didn't conquer anything, especially Mexico and Peru, because there was already established leaders in those countries. Moctezuma was an emperor of Mexico, Aztecs. So there were civilizations established, detailed cities. To this day, the Aztec calendar is used for planting. That's what part of the calendar was for that. 365 days a year for how to plant, what time to plant, what time to harvest. So what I'm getting at, where's our celebration as Spaniards? If we want to be rightfully historians, where's our celebration of Spain? Not that I want it. Not that I want it. I'm trying to make a point.
But the problem, Roosevelt, is that you are using facts and reasoning, and that's not what's at play here when we're talking about Columbus Day.
And even if we're talking about Spain instead of Italy, it's still the wrong argument, because it's still the white European hero narrative that completely dismisses the people who were here initially. And a good example, I always like to recommend a book when I'm on. Great book. It's called Forget the Alamo, which is about the white European narrative of the Alamo and Texas independence and how it completely ignores black, indigenous, and Mexican people, and the fact that most of the American settlers in Texas went there in order to extend slavery to a new territory. And a lot of that's forgotten in the rah-rah history of Remember the Alamo.
Well, and to your point about the Alamo, by the way, this is actual news recently. The San Antonio experts believe they found the original site of the Alamo Church, and there's the nation that my mother or it's because they were nomads. They were not necessarily they didn't have like a territory where they were isolated to or located, so they did not qualify for federal status as a tribe in the United States, and they are fighting for it. But they have been trying to protect the lands at the Alamo and around, because those would be the folks that I'm descended from, that my mom is descended from. But again, Roosevelt, you're bringing in logic into an argument that the other side isn't using any of. So they're going from emotion.
Can I say one more thing in closing? And that is this: we are considered in Mexico mestizos.
Right.
I mean, it's a mixture of Indian and Spanish blood. But one thing that's never mentioned during Columbus Day is this: with the Spaniards and their conquerors that I mentioned in the past, also brought, in the name of Christianity, brought their religion, and in the name of their religion, which is the Catholic Church, they destroyed the Indians. They cut their heads off, and I mentioned this on your program. They did atrocities to the native Indians of Mexico and South America in the name of the Church of Spain. Let's not forget, the church was in cahoots with their leaders at that time. They were partners. They brought them over. They brought the priest over. And to this day, you will know that on those pyramids that the Aztecs and those Mexican Indians, natives, they put their Spanish churches on top of those pyramids. They destroyed the pyramids.
Oh, not just their churches, but their government buildings, the Zocalo in Mexico City.
Buildings.
Yep.
So that's another fact. That's another fact. And let's not forget that Spain took back all the gold, and to this day, the churches of Spain are filled with gold from Mexico and Peru.
Yep.
Those are facts.
Again, going on facts is not helpful in an argument where people are using emotion. And I'm not sure why, their argument, many people's argument, not but many people argue that, the Italians suffered discrimination and hostility, and yet the idea that Native Americans, the indigenous populations were, as you mentioned, were exterminated in a lot of places, whether it was through cruelty and execution, and also through sickness, through illnesses, through plagues that had never been, because they had never been exposed to a lot of the elements that the Europeans brought over, whether it was the blankets that were given to them on the Trail of Tears or just the exposure in Mexico. 25 million Native Americans perished within a generation.
Well, move over Columbus Day and Indigenous People Day and Happy Spanish Day. I'm being sarcastic.
I don't know about that. I don't even know if we'll be able to vote on that. I've got to run because we're going to go to a break, and then I've got to get some calls as well. Roosevelt, always great to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Of course. And before I forget, because we're going to talk to we're going to take our calls after this break. We're going to talk to Alderman Michele Smith coming up after 5:30 to talk about the CEO of the Chicago Park District finally resigning, and I'm curious what the specifics of that story are in regards to, because a lot of people were talking about whether or not he would get a golden parachute after all the horrendous things that have happened with the Park District in regards to safety and really with safety, not just the waterfront and people's lives, but also the sexual harassment, abuse, and assault that has happened within the lifeguard service. But I also want to say this. We are going to give away a pair of tickets to see Black Violin at the Genesee Theater. Classical hip-hop crossover duo Black Violin combines traditional instruments with modern beats to create musical mashups that lift everyone out of their seats in celebration of hope and unity. See them at the Genesee Theater in Waukegan on October 29th. For more information, visit GeneseeTheater.com. And we're giving away a pair of a $50 gift certificate. One today. We're going to give away one today to our second caller. Let's just go easy. Let's make it easy on Lady B. She doesn't have to disappoint more than one person. She has to disappoint one person and then take the next call. How's that? Contest running on WCP 820. WCT. I was going to try to do it fast. It's Monday. I'm not ready for fast.
Just use your words.
Contests running on WCPT 820 are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. One entry per person, one winner per household, void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking the contest tab. More in a moment when we come back on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
I don't know about you, but when I'm really tired, when I work a lot, I get a little edgy. I don't want my police officers being a little edgy and being exhausted and having their patience run dry. If there was ever a profession that needed patience, it was being a cop.
Joan Esposito, weekday afternoons 2 to 5 on WCPT 820.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important, a Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
This is Joan Esposito, and here at WCPT, we love pets. So much that we're spotlighting an adoptable, adorable dog or cat every month. So many deserving pets are waiting for their forever home. We've partnered with community shelters and our sponsors, Love for Dogs Pet Grooming and Mark Drugs, to talk about why rescue is best. It's all on Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. See our current adoptable at WCPT820.com.
My friend Marty, he wants to split the party. He wants blue folks in red states to vote green. I can see his point, though I really gotta say, no, we can't have another 2016. It seems nothing beats orange, nothing even freaking rhymes with it. What's a battered nation supposed to do? His Royal Orange Highness, he does love to divide us. We gotta stick together and vote blue.
That is Steve Goody from his album What I Did During My Pandemic Vacation is available at stevegoody.com. And we're not even going to discuss the rally in Iowa, I don't think. Unless somebody else wants to bring it up, Tom. I don't think I don't know. I can't. No.
If somebody wants to talk about it, fine. But I don't want to lead with it.
I don't want to belabor it. Hey, Jim, how are you doing today? Oh, hold on a second, Jim. I have to...
I'm thinking about Columbus Day with everybody else. I went to Madrid, and it was my first trip to Europe, and I went to the throne room with Isabel and Ferdinand, and, they have a big deal for Columbus. But for Columbus, when you think about it, if you put it in his shoes, he took an awful chance. He got 3 leaky boats, took off. They were going to throw him over the side. He only had about 48 hours before he saw land. The sailors were going to throw him over. They thought he was nuts. The point I try to make is monarchs ran the show. They ran the show. England, France, and Spain ran the show for God knows what. Let's go to 2001. I don't know. For 900 years they ran the show. So it was a money-making scheme for the kings and queens.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like it seems like it just goes on today. These money-making schemes are more important than human life. You can see it in our society.
Certainly.
In the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my God, I worked as a pipe coverer as a kid. Everybody was dying at 50 years old. All dying of cancer. I mean, I can go on and on with it. How many guys I knew were dead way before their time. But money was the most paramount. Money's paramount.
Right.
When the economics 101, you open up the first page, it's guns and butter. Do you want to put your money into guns, or do you want to put it in social?
I have a problem with what you just said, Jim. You just made me.
It's never going to change.
No, it's never going to change. You just made me have. You triggered me with guns and butter because I really hated economics in college. So thanks a lot for that on a Monday evening.
I know. Yeah. That's about the only thing that impressed me was that, and I had a great nun for that. And she said, Jim, if you can give me the law, you don't even have to come to class. Just give me the law of diminishing returns at the end of the semester. She was fabulous. And that took me the whole semester to try to memorize the law of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
But the whole thing's a money-making scheme. I felt sorry for Columbus because if Columbus was, we'd be speaking Italian now. Spanish. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Thanks, dear.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. Have a lovely evening. Talk to you next time. Thank you. Coming up next, we have Brian from Joliet. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I've got him on the air because apparently I'm having trouble remembering where the buttons are. You take a weekend off and all of a sudden you forget everything. Right, Brian? How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing, Patty?
I'm doing very well and thrilled to hear your voice. What's on your mind?
Well, I was just going to say that by the end of the 1800s, 90% of Native Americans were gone. They were wiped out through genocide, and they're still getting hassled to this very day. But I wanted to recommend in 1972. I went to Joliet Central as a public high school. We were already getting critical race theory back then. We read Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. Did you ever read that?
I have not.
Excellent book.
I haven't read it, but I have been to the graveyard at Wounded Knee in South Dakota.
And then 1975, there was a film about the Nez Perce, Chief Joseph, and the film was called I Shall Fight No More Forever. I would recommend if people can get it over their computers or something. Very accurate film, or if they don't want to read about it, they can check out the film. And I just wanted to say I also have another feminist book, if you'd like to read it, 1983, Rosemary Radford Ruther, Reuther. It's called Sexism and God Talk.
I love it. Sexism and God Talk. I wrote it down. Everyone watching on our Facebook Live stream can see that I was writing it down.
There you go.
Thank you so much for that. I love getting a reading list. I have so much homework to do.
Well, I think the interesting point there is I think we can make a very good case that 30 or 40 years ago, as a country, we were much more prepared and able to have those conversations that people are so defensive about now.
You bring up a good point. And Brian, I don't know if you agree with this in reference to what you're both discussing as far as the literature, but my husband has been watching a lot of Me TV and shows like Maude, Barney Miller, All in the Family. We're willing to have these very complicated conversations. And even we're more progressive. And even in the late 60s, Perry Mason, Steve was showing me like they would have, women as judges, people of different color. participating in this storytelling, more so with women judges, was fascinating. But you're right. I think that you both bring up really good points about the 70s and the 80s and 70s and 80s. And I think we see a lot of that shift after Reagan, that idea of nationalism, in particular white nationalism, on the rise, and giving a lot of our resources over to corporations by not taxing them as much, by limiting the power of the working class, and there's a lot of different things. So many things to talk about. I've got to get one more call, Brian. Have a great day, okay?
Okay, you too. Thanks a lot, Patty.
Of course. Thank you. And I didn't mean to make Dave, you were the, believe it or not, all of you called like at the same time, and I really did that in order of how long you were on hold. How's it going?
No, that's fine. On that, we're sitting there following some explorer that took a wrong way, remember? He got lost. He thought he was going to India. That's why they errantly always call them Indians, the natives. And
right.
And the also, the Spanish one. What about old Ponce de Leon? He's still looking for that fountain of youth.
Yeah.
And speaking of books, did you ever read on that Ann Richards book yet? Or
I haven't. It's got to be behind on the subjection of women. Is got to be because I do have a reading list.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you just hold the coffee table up or not.
No. I've got it in the rotation.
But to put a little levity on it so you can get to the others. On Wednesday, William Shatner is supposed to go into space on that Bezos' Blue Horizon. I think they could use that money to do more like LeBron does or something more useful, like schools and whatnot to the other people. But anyway, with his fellow astronauts, they better hope he doesn't see any goblin outside of that craft. You remember the series Twilight Zone, when he was on that airplane and he looked out on the wing and he seen that goblin and whatnot?
Yeah. I think I've seen that meme making the rounds on social media. Too funny.
Oh, has it? Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
But I was just thinking about that because he's a 90-year-old man now, so you don't know what he might see up there.
That's right.
So, anyway, well, listen, so you get to the others. You be well.
You too. Thank you so much, Dave. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you. Before I forget, I'm so excited. We have a new show here on WCPT debuting tonight from 8 to 10 o'clock. It's Devil's Advocates. Devil's Advocates will be on at 8 o'clock tonight, and they can cover the Trump rally in Iowa. See, we'll leave the conversation for them. And because we need to talk about the Chicago Park District, and I have a lot of thoughts on it. I have some insight, my own experience, and we're going to talk to Alderwoman Michele Smith from the 43rd Ward when we come back after this break.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
The eastbound side of I-80 is shut down between Brisbane and Ridge Road with a crash involving a couple of semis. Southbound Tri-State solid central to Gulf with a crash in the two left lanes. Back on the brakes from the 190 all the way down to the 82nd Street Toll Plaza. Eden's in from Lake Cook Road at 43, 18 outbound. Kennedy out to the split, 28, Express Avia 10, 53 to O'Hare. Inbound at Irving Park, a fender bender's off onto the shoulder. O'Hare back in, 56, 28 of that off the junction. Ike outbound from the Circle to 390-53. Inbound solid Wolf to Des Plaines Avenue with the crash in the right lane. 390 back in an hour and 18 minutes. Stevenson outbound. Jam solid out to the Tri-State with the stalled semi in the center lane. From the drive out to 355 an hour and 18. The Ryan out to 95th in 25. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
All too often, the media are ignoring the everyday heroics of our policemen and women. Well, that changes on News Nation. Dan Abrams and his live PD sidekick Sticks are back in prime time on Dan Abrams Live, weeknights at 8, 7 Central on News Nation.
Well, Stephanie Miller here with a few words about something good that came out of the past year. Telehealth. I mean, personal health support on your phone. What's not to love? And guess who's waiting to take your call? The Tummy Whisperer. If you have any concerns about your stomach, digestion, or overall health, talk to Renee Barish. Her clients at Digestive Health Solutions use telehealth to get help with their symptoms, discomfort, and worry from the safety of their homes. A certified digestive health specialist, Renee helps her clients address issues like acid reflux, irregularity, allergies, joint inflammation. She identifies specific digestive and nutritional imbalances, develops a plan to improve your health all on your phone. And if you prefer an office visit, Renee follows all CDC pandemic protocols, including masks, temperature checks, and vigorous sanitation. Pick up your phone. Schedule a telehealth visit today. Call Digestive Health Solutions at 847-207-2034. Renee will get you feeling better. That number again, 847-207-2034, or go to thetummywhisperer.com.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Some got busy, some got lazy, some got creative, some went crazy. Couch potatoes, avoiding respirators, we all got pretty big round the equator. Shopping online, working online, zooming all day, no pants, that's fine. Hiding at home from civilization, here's what I did over my pandemic vacation.
In chronological order, more or less, with the non-political songs first, cause not everybody wants to hear what I think politically, and I understand that, but honestly, how could anyone get through the past 18 months without one political thought?
That's our good friend of the show, Steve Goody. His album, What I Did on My Pandemic Vacation, is available at stevegoody.com. And something that happened pretty early on in the pandemic was there were several lifeguards in the Chicago Park District filed, well, at least one that I know of, and then another lifeguard followed her, reporting instances of sexual assault. And it took a long time. Long story short, we could talk about the whole thing. I could share my thoughts with it, but I also want to get to our guest. On Saturday, after months and months, over a year, almost 2 years of questions and really pushing literally kicking the can down the field, the mayor demanded that the CEO of the Chicago Park District, Mike Kelly, resign, and he did so, or that he be fired. And hours later, Mike Kelly did resign. And joining us on the line is Alderwoman Michele Smith, who is the chair of the City Council Ethics Committee, who also has some strong thoughts about this. And in studio, we have Thom Karmik, our political consultant guest. Alderwoman, I want to first of all thank you so much for being one of the first people in City Council to demand more in this case. As a former lifeguard with the Chicago Park District, I know how toxic the environment is, and I in many ways, I feel as though I wish I could have done more 30 years ago so that we wouldn't be at this place. But it really is bigger than that. What are your thoughts? What were your thoughts on Saturday night when Mike Kelly announced his resignation?
Well, first of all, it's a very welcome first step, but it's really just a first. As you just said, this has been going on for a very long time, and this kind of culture at the Park District apparently has been there through several, I guess, young people's generations of employment at the Park District, and we haven't heard from everyone by far.
No, I spoke to when I spoke to HR, because that was the problem, was people like me, and I know that WBEZ's Dan Mihalopoulos has done a great job of providing a platform and a space where women could come forward and tell their stories. One of the things I tried doing was getting more of my peers who I guarded with in the 80s who were male to also, one, recognize what they had participated in, and they have. And you know, it's hard, Alderwoman, is that they're dads and they have daughters now, and they think about whether or not they would want their daughters exposed to what I went through. And now we see how much worse it has been with the escalation of where these guards, these mates. Are you familiar yet? I know you and I need to sit down sometime so I could talk about the hierarchy of the Park District. What has shocked you the most as far as these allegations and the sort of environment of the lifeguard service?
Well, I actually was not aware at how out of control it was, or it appears to be.
Oh, it is.
How sexualized it is, and how power is being exerted over very young women. And that's a terrible experience to have as a young teenager, that you really want to be a lifeguard because you're qualified and you can swim and it's out on the beach all summer, and then to have to endure the kind of abuse that I understand is now finally coming to light.
That
really is distressing.
You're absolutely right about that, Alderwoman, by the way. I will say, as as hard as it was to we felt like we survived that, right? That was kind of like the badge of honor that we had in 1989. It was one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. But I'm heartbroken. Like, for example, there was, I won an award called the Tower Betty Award, which was given to the female guard whose butt they wanted to stare at during their shift. And like, to me, like, in the 80s, it was kind of like, oh, I guess that's great. I guess I should be proud of that. It was weird, and I was uncomfortable, and you never really said anything about, like, you should be grateful to be alluded to that way. But that has become now, what I learned was it became something like horror of the beach. And that's where we are now. That's the difference from, and even then what I went through was horrifying. But you're absolutely right. It is a job that women should be able to do, girls and women should be able to do when they're because they're qualified, they're good at it. We are good at it, and we are held to a different standard. And it can't just be because, they're in bathing suits. I'm so tired of people saying, well, you're in a bathing suit, what do you expect? So I'm grateful for the fact that you're taking an initiative here. Do you have any specifics about Mike Kelly's resignation? Does he get that golden parachute? Can you talk to us a little bit about his contract and what you guys are looking into as far as going forward with the leadership in the Chicago Park District?
Well, okay, so those are two separate questions. I'm sure it's going to be a real tussle about his contract, because I think the argument is going to be that since he resigned, he doesn't get it.
Okay.
Because it was a firing for no reason that he definitely got the golden parachute. And then if it was for cause, he didn't get it, but he was entitled to a hearing. So faced with having a hearing, and the decision being made that he would not be fired for cause, then his next move is to just, in my view, his next responsible move is to just resign. It does cost him some cash, but I see that it allows his supporters to come out and praise him, like I think it was the Electrical Workers Union just did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me about that. What are your thoughts on the unions coming out in support? IBEW, I think, came out. Is that correct? Yep.
Yes. It is unfortunate that someone who's been accused of something that is possibly a cover-up, or possibly, worse, a political cover-up, possibly worse, that people feel compelled at the outset to just come right out and say, well, nothing could have happened. I think people do need to let the process unfold, and I trust that the union wouldn't allow that kind of behavior to persist in their own union. And I like the IBEW. We get along. It's all great. But, now's not the time to rush to judgment. Now's the time to take a long and close look at what's going on.
Yeah, I thought it was sort of strange that they made it, that they published in the Chicago Sun-Times their gratitude for the work that he has done, and it made me a little uncomfortable. And now the second part of that question was, are there conversations about how to proceed with the Chicago Park District and leadership and how that's structured?
Well, I haven't had any conversations with them. Obviously, this happened Saturday night.
Right.
But I do know that when we've talked to the mayor, she would like as clean a sweep as can be made. And so we are, Alderman Wagesbeck and I are encouraging the Park District to take a pause itself, because we don't know for sure exactly the role of the board, what the role of the board has been. And so they really do need to take a pause and not immediately appoint an interim person. That has to be after we know what role the board has had to play in all of this.
I agree. And I don't... Can you tell us a little bit about why the board, as an entity, the Chicago Park District seems to be excluded from oversight by the city of Chicago? Because at least that's what the mayor said early on during these conversations about the sexual harassment and abuse at the Park District.
Well, they are an independent agency. They have a separate line on your tax bill, and that's how you know, the same way that CPS does. So right now, for example, our Inspector General only has jurisdiction over the city of Chicago because it's a separate legal entity. So in the past, there is a provision that allows an Inspector General to work with and cooperate with the independent agencies. And I'm trying to think, has that actually happened? We've had some terrible scandals over in CPS as well with sexual harassment and worse. And our Inspector General has not been involved either, but CPS appears to have gotten more aggressive about it. I can't say that for sure, but they do. They've already established this Office of Protection, and, they're trying to root things out. The Park District seems to have had a much more, hands-off approach. Maybe that's the wrong word to use, but they certainly haven't been as aggressive.
Yeah, I still flash to, this really, it's kind of surreal, the environment of the lifeguard service, because I felt so cool to be there. And it is, but I've talked to so many people, in particular women, who still carry the trauma of surviving some of the things that they were subjected to. When I spoke to an investigator, again, I wanted to make sure that they had sort of the history of the structure. I spent 3 hours talking to an investigator, and actually I have my journal from that summer, from 1989, and I had a couple of my male guards on the phone to also provide testimony to the investigator. It's kind of the thing when you talk about a clean sweep. I also think that they need to restructure the entire way we have our lifeguard service, because it's been handled so horrendously for decades.
I agree with you, and the fact that I don't know your whole story, Patty, but to hear you say that that's an award you got in 1989 breaks my heart, because it should have been resolved by then.
Right.
These things should not have been happening then. I mean, I came of age more in the 70s, and then there was no Title IX. There was the ERA had been defeated. There was very little protection at that time. This whole thing was in its infancy. So to even hear that this sort of nonsense was going on in the 90s is beyond me, and that it's gotten more aggressive is outrageous.
Yeah.
It really is outrageous that it has gotten more aggressive, putting the lives of these girls really into jeopardy. And I really condemn the hierarchy that allowed that to happen.
I am so grateful to hear those words. I really am. And again, grateful for the work that you do. How can folks find out more about what you do for the constituents of your incredible ward, the 43rd Ward? What's the best place for them to find you?
Well, I have a website, ward43.org, and there you can sign up to get our newsletters, which we send out to many thousands of people to let people know what we are up to. And I often write about issues that are of importance to me and my constituents, and try to give people a little bit deeper dive about why we should care and what's actually going on in different issues, ranging from this to police reform to the budget, and of course public safety right now.
Those are all things that I would love to have you back on to talk about, or any events or things that you want to make sure people are aware of. Please do not hesitate to shout at us and say, hey, we'd love to come on and have a conversation about this. Our microphones are always open to you.
Well, thank you very much. You're really performing a great service by letting people know that you've had experiences with the Park District. And that gives the effort even more credibility.
Oh, I appreciate it. Oh, thank you. I'm going to continue to talk to them and going forward, not just to highlight what happened to me, but some of the thoughts that I have about how they can restructure. And I've been talking to people about water safety too. I got plans. I got big plans, Alderwoman.
That's terrific. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Anytime. Have a great rest of your evening.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
We're going to take a break here. Our phone lines are open, and I really am. We need more leaders like Alderwoman Smith who are paying attention to this. Because they're the people. Look, Thom, there were 2 girls who were sexually assaulted in the 10th Senate, right here in Chicago, in my neighborhood. One at Portage Park and one at Jefferson Park, and no electeds in my community have stepped up and done anything. Not Lindsay LaPointe, not Representative, not what's his name, Martwick, not Alderman Gardner, not Quigg. Everybody, nobody has done anything in response to girls who were attacked right here in our neighborhoods. I can't.
And I am lucky enough to work with Alderman Smith regularly, and not surprised at her taking a leadership role in this. Scott Wagspack as well. That's the kind of leadership we need. It's one thing to call yourself a woke progressive and then sit on your hands when things happen because you don't want to upset anybody. And unfortunately, this community has a few of those. Well,
you made me upset, not you. You know what I mean? Let's take a break here. By the way, I wanted to make sure that everyone knows we did have a winner for our tickets to see Black Violin at the Genesee Theater, and I want to congratulate Thom from Roselle for winning that. We'll get Matt's call when we come back right after this break.
The Hal Sparks radio program.
There are millions of people in the United States who are avoiding getting vaccinated, not because they were anti-vax 6 years ago or 2 years ago or even genuinely that way now, but because it is literally just an act of stubborn fealty to Donald John Trump.
Hal Sparks, Saturdays from 11 to 1 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Right now, people are home with their pets more often, and I think now, especially with the shedding, they're more cognizant of what's going on and that it's an actual issue, and Dinovite has helped tremendously in our house with that.
I just heard the Dinovite commercial so many times, I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot, and I ordered it and tried it, and it worked.
The Dinovite, the being at home, working with them, they all love it.
Me and Chewy are together 24/7.
Within 3 weeks, he's not scratching and itching, and he's an all-around happier dog.
DINOVITE.com. We know that the human-dog bond is ancient and sacred, and that your pet is family. This is Jennifer Bishop Jenkins, owner of Love for Dogs in Glencoe, proud sponsor of WCPT's Pet of the Month, and named Best Groomer in Chicagoland by the Chicago Tribune. I'm a certified master groomer and esthetician, and I've helped countless pets, many with skin and coat problems. We use cutting-edge products, and we have the region's first TheraClean microbubble machine, offering a deep natural clean that goes inside pores and follicles to remove everything from skunk oil to allergens. We offer the best in skillful, gentle, all-breed grooming, and happy pets play every day in our indoor doggy daycare. Come tour our salon at 69 Green Bay Road in Glencoe, and you'll see, feel, and smell the difference. From breed standard to special requests, we make that extra effort to make sure your furry family member looks and feels great when they leave. Learn more at lovefordogs.com. That's LOVEFUR dogs.com, or call us at 847-LUV-DOGS.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
We are live in the WCPT 820 studios. Joining me in studio is political strategist Thom Karmik, and I know that Matt's been on hold. I want to find out what's on Matt's mind. Hey, Matt, how are you doing today?
Hey, Patti, I'm glad I could talk to you on There's Nothing on after 6. What's the point of living?
Oh, stop. That is not true. Rick Unger comes up after my show, and they can hear Devil's Advocates tonight from 8 to 10 p.m. But thank you. It's great to hear from you again.
Yes. So at one point, I'm going to call you with good news. Oh. But, so I was talking to a friend of mine who's a police officer today, and apparently, it was either yesterday or Saturday, a guy was sitting in his car just minding his own business on Milwaukee and Damon at the 6-corner intersection over there. And a guy got out of his car, walked up to the other guy, shot him, and walked back to his car and drove away. A couple weeks ago, there was a shooting directly in front of the police station on Larrabee. Shots were fired. 2 cars crashed. A little 1-year-old baby was hurt. Shots also went into the police station, and they only caught one of the 2 guys. carjackings are up, 40% now? As a Lyft and Uber driver, I'm seriously considering quitting and finding a different job because I don't feel like getting mugged or shot or dead. I like being alive.
Representative Jaime Andrade, who has the district just south and east of us, he was talking about how over the weekend he told his son, this is probably the last weekend that we can swim in our pool. Let's make it one last night, and I'm going to pack it up. And his son said, I don't feel safe swimming in our pool. What if there's gunfire? Because they've been having a lot of gang violence in that area, in Old Irving, Independence Park area, at Albany Park. It's very scary. Yeah, these are the things. It's hard. I'm sorry. When you're driving Lyft or Uber, have you been in are there times when you're like, what would I even do if gunfire opened up right here? Because I'm finding myself doing that. Wondering what I would do in that instance, because sometimes it's about being aware of your surroundings, but no one can be prepared for gang violence when we're in the middle of it, right?
Yeah, I carry 2 wallets and 2 phones.
Oh.
That way I can give them the dummy wallet with all the cards that are totally overused and have nothing on them, so it's not like I'll miss them. And I carry a second phone. It's just a prepaid phone, and it's a smartphone, though, so I can give that to them. And hopefully they don't check my pockets for anything else. I just gave them all my stuff. My license with my ID, my wallet with my ID and everything, that's in a separate wallet that I keep hidden on me. And I just hope to God that I don't get mugged or shot.
Have you ever been mugged?
I got carjacked in 2018.
Oh.
But I have not been mugged yet.
Did you start carrying that second wallet and phone after the carjacking?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
They didn't take my phone, or they took my laptop, which was in the car. But they didn't take my phone or my wallet, but I don't want to run the risk, after they beat the crap out of me. But I don't want to run the risk of them wanting to take it. So if they do, there it is.
Wow, I cannot believe that you went through that, and I wonder how many people are preemptive with the kind of plan that you have in place, or if they tend to do that afterwards. I mean, we've seen that where they say have a spare pair of like dummy keys and like throw them, make the person go for the keys and then get in your car and drive away.
In this climate, I think that so much of this is fueled by anger that the ones that seem to go really bad are when people fight back. And you hate to tell people, just give up your stuff, but you know what? It's just stuff. And too many of these incidents escalate when people fight back. It would have been interesting, actually, when Alderman Smith was on, because in the 18th and 19th District, which are part of her ward, there was a uptick in carjackings during the pandemic, actually, when a lot of juveniles were not in school, and they were almost all committed by people under 18 who were bored and had nothing to do. And there was a task force, federal, state, and local task force that cracked down and made several arrests. And the numbers are actually down for hijackings across the city, or carjackings across the city, but that's not, it's hard to say that when it's still happening, and it's still happening at the rate that it is. It's down a little bit, but it's not down enough.
Right.
And people's perception of it is higher than ever, I think. I don't remember any time living in the city for my entire life of people being this on edge about crime, even back in the days when crime was a lot worse statistically.
Yeah. Well, Matt, thank you for sharing that perspective. And, I think it's good for people to consider what their plan is, whether it's to carry that, as you mentioned, a dummy wallet and cell phone, or be prepared, just try to put yourself in the mindset, if I am in a situation where someone's demanding whatever it is, my property, my car, my wallet, my phone, my purse, be prepared to say, you know what, it's just material items as long as I'm safe. Right, Matt?
That is true. I honestly, until I found out the public can't own them, which makes sense, but I thought about buying a bulletproof vest and just wearing it while I'm driving.
Yeah.
Under my shirt.
Man.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
We'll talk more tomorrow.
All right.
As always, I'll be listening to Up Late until 6 o'clock with Patti Vasquez.
Pretty not so late, I guess, is what we are now. Thanks, Matt. Have a lovely rest of your evening. Take care.
You too, Patty.
Thank you. By the way, I forgot to mention that someone was texting me, and by that I mean it was coming from inside my house, about alternatives to Christopher Columbus celebrations, and not this day. Like, I believe that Native Nation Indigenous Day is appropriate to replace, but in order for those people who are like, well, the Italian Americans, we want to show our pride. I was sent Francis Xavier Cabrini as an alternative, also called Mother Cabrini, was an Italian-American Roman Catholic nun. She founded the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, a Catholic religious institute that was a major support to her fellow Italian immigrants to the United States. She was the first U.S. citizen to be canonized as a saint by the Roman Catholic Church on July 7th, 1946. So I think...
And being half Italian, I could go for Rocky Marciano or Joe DiMaggio as well, instead of Christopher Columbus. So there are plenty of Italians that we can honor.
There you go. Also, another one would be Enrico Tonti, who was from Gaeta and Lazio. My apologies to all Italian speakers for my absolutely mutilating the language. The first Italian to come to what would be Chicago. So he was a soldier in the service of the French in the fall of 1680. Tonti was in the LaSalle expedition and second in command of the company. So just some alternatives. Thom, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
By the way, we should let folks know that we're going to, because it's not open to the public, but tonight's event, I'm so excited to be attending an event at the Gale Street Inn.
I've been waiting for it all day.
I know, me too. It's a collaboration with some great Northwest Side businesses, Lake Effect Brewery and North Branch Fried Chicken. Such good food. Okay, let's go eat. We're going to stop at Jerry's house, I think, too. He's got some apples for you. Oh my gosh, I'm late again. Sorry, everyone. Rick Unger's up next. Don't forget Devil's Advocates tonight at 8 o'clock. Bye, everyone. I'm late. Sorry.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important, a Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.